Okay, we're going to call to order the regular City Council meeting of November 26, 2024. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen.
Here.
Salvia.
Here.
Hauser.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
King.
Here.
Sage.
Here.
Trent.
Here.
Thank you. Will you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, everybody. Somebody's phone?
Not mine.
Oh,
Oh, should turn my
I'm
phone
sorry.
off, too.
you don't want my personal phone calls? Thank you.
Well, we kind of like to know your personal phone calls, but. All right, first we're on to public comments, scheduled, non-scheduled. So as tradition, we will have the election of the mayor and the mayor pro tem, and we will have the city attorney come up to run the meeting.
And good evening. As is tradition, I have now taken the stand for the meeting, and we're going to start with the mayor selection. So at this time, I will take nominations for the position of mayor of the city of Rochester with a term ending November 2025. Mayor Bixler.
So I'll nominate Nancy Salvia for mayor.
There's a nomination for Nancy Salvia to be mayor. Are there any other nominations at this time? Seeing none, I will close the nominations. Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Vixen.
Yes.
Salvia.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Motion passes. We have a new mayor. Like fashion, I will now take nominations for the position of mayor pro tem with a term ending November 2025. Councilmember Salvia.
Yes, I'd like to nominate Stuart Bixen.
The name of Stuart Bixen has been entered into nominations. Are there any other nominations? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, the roll, please.
Salvia.
Yes.
Vixen.
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones.
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Sage.
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Stuart Bixen is now the mayor pro tem for the city of Rochester.
Do we do the ceremonial chair changing now too, or? I can sit here. You want to sit there? I'll sit.
I guess we didn't really have to.
Not too much.
Switch the names.
Oh. Okay, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you. And we are so blessed as a city, as a council, to have an amazing council, a strong council, a very engaged council. And I recognize that every one of the council members at this table bring gifts and talents to this city and to the council. We have strategy, we have tenacity, we have passion, we have communication skills, we have experience, we have a fresh perspective, and strong business acumen. And I believe that together, we will continue to lead Rochester. And I like to say, to make Rochester not just where we live, but where we love to live. So thank you, thank you. And I also would like to encourage all of you to join me in recognizing Stuart Bixen for 10 years as the mayor of Rochester. I didn't check with Pat McKay, our historian, but I think that might be a record. I don't know, 10? But for certain, he also served during some very tough times. He served during part of the financial crisis. He served during COVID. So not just 10 years, but some tough years. So thank you, Stuart. And would you like to say anything?
No, I'm good. I think it's time to keep moving the city forward, and I think this council can do that.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. So on to the business of the city. All right, on our agenda tonight, we have an item that we would like to add. This is the Monarch Proclamation, which I don't have a copy of it. You emailed it to me, but I thought there'd be one here. Okay, perfect. All right, so for council, we're going to add this. We are going for the third year as a Monarch Champion City. And we have Stephanie Smith here tonight to receive this proclamation. This is part of our, again, this proclamation, and I will read it. This is a little bit of both Stuart and I on this because the date was Monday. So let me just read this. Whereas the monarch butterfly is an iconic North American species whose multi-generational migration and metamorphosis from caterpillar to butterfly has captured the imaginations of millions of Americans, and whereas 20 years ago, more than 1 billion eastern monarch butterflies migrated to Mexico, but in the winter of 2014, only 60 million, so 1 billion to 60 million, made the trip. And whereas cities, villages, and counties have a critical role to play to help save the monarch butterfly, and the city of Rochester will play a leadership role by promoting and developing monarch habitats. And whereas every citizen of the city of Rochester can make a difference for the monarch by planting native milkweed and nectar plants to provide habitat for monarch and pollinators in locations where people live, work, play, and worship. Whereas on behalf of the people of the city of Rochester who have already joined in creating healthy habitat for these magnificent butterflies, I am honored to lead the way by adopting the National Wildlife Federation's President's Monarch Pledge, and I encourage other village and city officials across our great nation to take a stand with me so that the monarch butterfly will once again flourish across the continent. Now, therefore, I, Stuart Bixson, Mayor of the City of Rochester, do hereby proclaim, I think we said this was Monday, November 25th, as the Mayor's Monarch Pledge Day in the City of Rochester.
Thank you.
So, co-done.
Thank you. This will help.
Trent?
Yes, this will help us get our last of our 24 actions that the city has done to improve habitat with the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. So we'll be back asking you to sign this next year. Every year the mayor needs to sign this. Thank you very much.
So should we have Stephanie Smith come forward? Stephanie, she's the board president of our Rochester Pollinators, which most of us know would have not happened had it not been for Councilmember Trent, or as I like to call her, Madam Butterfly. So, Stephanie, would you like to say something?
Just wanted to say thank you to the city for again supporting the Mayor's Monarch Pledge. This means so much to our environment and also to Marilyn and myself and the other Rochester pollinators that the city continues to sign this and plant native plants.
Wonderful. Thank you, thank you. Marilyn, do you want to take a picture with Stephanie and I, maybe? Okay. And I'm gonna do an audible and call on my friends and family in the audience, and you can take a picture. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a hand up near up there too.
Okay, thank you. Okay, and Brian, I think I see a hand. Do we have a public comment?
Yes, there's one caller ending 651. If you'd like to unmute yourself.
Hello.
Hello, Ms. Turner.
Yes, it is me. And it's time for Thanksgiving. And I want to thank all of you for all the work you put in. And Mayor Pro Tem Dixon, thank you for all your service. And you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you, too.
Yeah,
That was sweet.
thank you.
Okay, do we have any other public comment? If you could approach the podium, please.
Good evening, council. My name is Joe Salvia. A slight relationship to my daughter-in-law, my son, my wife, my daughter-in-law. We're here to celebrate this new opportunity for you to become the mayor of this wonderful city. I come to you as a Highland Township trustee in my third term, so I'm very familiar, except I never see myself from that side. I'm always over there. So it's great to be in your council chambers tonight. Nancy, I'm sure you're going to do a great job. You've told me a lot of the great things that this council has done in the past years, so we're proud to have you there. And just so you know, Highland Township has a Monarch Mile.
Oh,
We've been doing that
okay.
for several years now,
Wow.
so we make sure that the state does not come and whack it all down on the
Oh,
Highland
that's
59.
good.
We're always watching
Thank
out
you.
for the monarch, so, and
I didn't know
one of our
about
trips
that.
to Mackinac Island, we were able to walk around the island, and there's plenty of monarch butterflies at the habitat along the shore area there, so. With that, I'm going to, I forgot to give my address today. 3770 Dunham, Highland Township, Michigan. And I also stepped down as the commander of the AMVETS after 18 years, Stuart, so I know what it means to serve a long time also. And I left the meeting tonight as saying, I'm not going to be at the meeting tonight, friends. I got to go see my wonderful daughter-in-law. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pop. Do we have any other public comment? Welcome.
Evening, council members. My name is Evan Running. I'm at 668 North Main Street. My public comment tonight just concerns the new Smart Route 492, its performance and who's riding it. Just because there's been a tremendous amount of curiosity about this service and what its performance is looking like. So I reached out to a few people at Smart, and they were able to compile some data for me. And if you'd like to, I can forward you the email that they sent me if you'd like.
That'd be great. If you could follow up with an email, that'd be excellent.
Okay, awesome. So on Route 492 across quarter 2 and quarter 3, the bus had approximately 8,600 boardings within Rochester and Rochester Hills. That extrapolates about 62 boardings per day. I know I may have mentioned casually to you, Stuart, that it was about 50, but I forgot to account for the fact that the bus doesn't run on Sundays. So 62 boardings per day of operation. They run 36 runs through Rochester. So typically, I guess every time you see the bus, statistically speaking, 1.7 persons will have boarded the bus in Rochester and Rochester Hills. Of course, that varies by time of day. Rush hour sees much more than during off-peak hours. So as far from my personal experience, who's using the bus, it's usually commuting trips. A lot of students at Oakland University are taking the bus to school. I've seen some employees of OU taking the bus to the university over there as well. My roommate does. My neighbor does. And actually, one of my classmates too recently, his car died on him, so he's been taking the bus to his job here in downtown Rochester. So I just wanted to say, as Smart continues to improve the service, they're adding staff, getting back to their staffing levels pre-COVID. The system hopefully will become more useful to people in Rochester. It's really an exciting time as Smart, WODA, OPC, NODA are receiving additional funding from the new property taxes. And I hope that these services will become more integral to the city's transportation system. And I hope that if it's successful enough, we can incorporate that into our land use plans and perhaps consider it as a vital part of the city's transportation infrastructure. So for everyone who was involved in this and making this happen, council members, the city employees, thank you for working with Smart and making this route deployed. From here forward, the best thing we can do is support Smart in their operations and do whatever we can to make riders make the experience as safe and comfortable as possible. So that concludes my
Thank you.
comment.
Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you,
thank
Evan.
you.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate it.
Okay.
All right, so moving on, we're moving on to are there any other public comments for something not on the agenda? Okay, excellent. We'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We have consideration of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 14th, October 28th, November 11th, and our special meeting of November 11th. We're catching up due to the election cycle here.
So moved.
Motion by Sage,
To approve.
Second.
support by Jones. City Clerk, please.
Salvia,
Yes?
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on to our consent agenda, we have one item on the consent agenda, that is to approve the 2025 Rochester Frost Festival, which is being held the weekend of Martin Luther King Day weekend in January, so Friday, January 17th and 18th. Council? Councilmember Trent?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Trent.
Support.
Support by Sage. City Clerk? Oh, we have a discussion?
Just a quick question.
Yeah.
This is the former Fire and Ice, correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And no fireworks?
No fireworks, no Oakland County support.
Gotcha, okay. But it looks like some other fun things.
Other
will be
fun
there,
things.
so.
Yes, yes. Any other discussion, questions? Okay. City Clerk, please.
Salvia,
Yes?
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you. There's no old business, there's no table items. Moving on to public hearings. We have a public hearing regarding the CDBG reprogramming for program year 2025. I believe Jeremy Pickens, there he is, he's right there. What would
Hello,
you like to tell us about this item?
Yeah, of course. So this is the annual application for the 2025 CDBG grant. This year, it's usually around $27,000 a year. This year, it's $27,378. So right in the ballpark that we usually aim for. In the past few years, we've been using it for park pathways in our park. We're about done with what we can do in the park. This will be probably the last year that I anticipate doing this for a while. They recently changed the requirements or the available space that you can do it from 100-year floodplain to 500-year floodplain. So they don't allow it in a lot of our park anymore. So this is going to be this year's, or I guess next year's allocation. So it goes from pretty much where the GBB building is, all the way down past the big bathroom, down the hill until we reach that floodplain. And then on the other side of the fork that you would take to go to GBB, down around the band shell, it's gonna be coming south until we reach that floodplain again. And then we'll use these monies plus our regular park money to finish that underneath the band shell. We'll use city funds for that. But it will be the same contract, we'll do it at the same time. They'll just give us two different invoices. One's approved by CDBG, the other is just us doing it on our own. So that's kind of my summary of that.
And so this updates current paths. This does not add additional impervious surfaces in our parks.
Correct. It does not, it will not expand the footprint of the path in any way.
Councilmember Trent?
Just a side note here on the extensive information that you have to give on the, and one of them was the Endangered Species Act, species. And on there was that monarch butterfly, because it is up for, to be on the endangered species list. They've been trying to work on this for a while. But I thought maybe we should get extra money because we're doing extra work to keep it off the endangered species list. But I was really impressed with the level of detail that they do with our parks to protect them, because those are actually our green spaces that, yes, like you said, we're trying to not have as much impervious surfaces in our parks.
Yeah, and we don't have to do as much I guess, legwork in the form of paperwork, because we're not expanding that footprint. They're kind of like, okay, it's been there. We understand that we want to make it ADA compliant as best you can. Here's some money for that. So,
Well, thank you. Thank you for doing that.
Council? Do we have a motion?
Oh, me? Okay, I guess okay, I'll make a motion.
Oh, this is a public hearing. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Rookie. It was a rookie move.
Sorry.
All right, so I think I opened the public hearing at 7:24. Would anyone like to speak on this topic? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing at 7:25. Now, council.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Sage.
Support.
Support by Trent. City clerk, please.
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, council.
thank you, council. After the meeting, I'll get with you. I just need a signature.
Certainly. Okay, there is no legislative deliberation. There's our reports on regular business. Moving on to consideration of a request to appoint Anthony Maggio as the designated streets administrator. So, Nick, city manager?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor. We have to have two signees, if you will, for street administrator. So it's myself and I believe, and it was Alec Mizikar, our former DPW director. So in his absence, we felt Anthony was perfect. Anthony's the perfect person as he administers the fund anyway and things that we have to do. So our recommendation is have Anthony be our designated street administrator. Look for a motion to approve.
I would
Councilmember Hauser?
jump all over a motion to make Anthony designated street administrator. Yes.
So call him when there's a pothole in your street.
Absolutely. Can you give your cell phone number for the record, please?
Yeah.
Don't ask him if he's accepted.
I'll do a second jump. I support that.
Okay. Motion and support. Any discussion other than that? All right, city clerk.
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser.
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Congratulations, Anthony. Add that one to your resume. All right, moving on to the exciting item on the agenda. Consideration of a request to award a contract to Spoon Ranch, Inc. to design and build the skateboard park, not to exceed $500,000. So, Councilmember Jones, and I know Councilmember Trent has also had her hand on this one, but Councilmember Jones, do you want to start this out?
I think I'm going to kick it to Nick.
Yep. Yep. Let me set it up for you and then.
City manager and the city attorney.
Yep, gotcha. So, after city council made the decision to use our bond proceeds for $500,000, not to exceed that for the skate park, we dug in and started doing the background work. So the first thing we had to do was find a location. So we had already targeted, in Scott Street Park. You know where it's at now, don't you? Debbie, you went to the.
Describe where that is?
Yeah, so some people don't know where Scott Street Park is. So at the end of Scott Street is a little park. It's the actual Sugar Maple Grove, the community gardens, Dino Hill comes through there. That's technically on our paperwork as Scott Street Park. And you have J.C. Field, Hallbeck Field, all of them kind of tying together. So there's a quarter basketball court and a half basketball court. We know they both need work. So in the coming years, we will replace the surface on the half court. We decided because we have a half court, that we're going to give up the quarter court and made that our location. I choked myself. Sorry. That's what happens when you eat salad for dinner when you really don't want to. I'd rather eat something else, but, okay, so we had to go out there, and that's the site, believe it or not, of a former dump. Our city dump was in that area. The administration building, the DPW campus, the baseball fields were all built on a landfill. So first thing we did was test the soil for two things, stability and contamination. Past the contamination stability, it's got a heavy cover on it. So to build this park properly, it's an urban park, they call them, so it's not a bowl. So we're not digging down 10 feet. It's pretty much a flat surface with a thick pad on it. And then it's urban furniture, if you will, it's rails and things like that. So we had G2 through our AE, which is a soil engineering company, through our consultants, AEW went out, did soil testings to make sure that knowing what we needed to do to get this stable, would it pass pass the flying colors, don't have to disturb anything bad. We don't even have to take the soil off to a Class 3 landfill, which saves money on top of it. In order to maximize our $500,000, if this is approved tonight, we're going to use that as a training situation for our employees. So the way you learn to use a backhoe and things that excavators are to practice them. What a perfect spot right next to DPW to do that, which would save some money for the contractor to have to do that. And then we can deal with the soil, and we can actually stockpile it at our yard for future use. So that's great. So former DPW Director Mizikar was very involved in this, very passionate about it. He was a skateboarder when he was growing up. So he went out and we interviewed 4 companies from around the country. We put out RFPs, RFQs to see who we would like. We got back 4 very good companies, and then we did our due diligence, started calling where they had built. Spawn out of California has built Northville, I think Midland, and a couple other in Michigan. So they got rave reviews, on budget, on time, great to work with. They are a firm believer in having a community outreach session to design the park before you do it. So it's design and build. We set together a committee, Vaughn and Linda Gallagher, former Mayor Dalton, Councilwoman Jones, when we met a few times to talk about scope, what we would like to see, that so we didn't over-design it, knowing that we had a hard cap at $500,000. So when we interviewed the companies, we told them, this is what you're going to get, and we will help a bit on the excavation of the soils, but everything else is on you. It's got to be delivered under $500,000. So Spawn rose to the top. We are recommending them to receive this contract to design, build. They will have one visioning session with the community that will invite everybody on Zoom so we can get everybody in one meeting to help design that park, take their input, get it going, get it drawn. We want to be in the ground at the end of March. As soon as the grounds, we're able to move that soil, we will do that. A summer dedication, because again, not going deep, it should be a lot easier. Northfield accomplished theirs in 4 months, so we think we can do that also. So staff's recommendation is to award the contract to Spawn Ranch, Inc. For a design, build, a skate park not to exceed $500,000.
Councilmember King.
I don't know if you have anything to add, but I'm just curious, so it's interesting, we're approving the contract, it has a design build component, there's gonna be a visioning sessioning. Do we have any assurance, like, we're actually gonna get a fulsome skate park delivered for this cost? Because there is no design plan, right? Like, it's very rare that you're gonna sign a contract for the full amount without knowing what you're gonna get. Like, is it gonna be a 20 by 20 space because they can't deliver on the cost? That's my only concern with the kind of the process of this design build.
Yep, so in the packet that went out, we said this is the area you have. We defined it by square footage, and then it's a per square footage build out. And at $500,000, we would get every single item we want in there under that per square footage based on what other communities have done it, so.
And another, just a little
Councilmember Jones.
Import to that is that it's very important to them, and it appears all these companies to get input from the community. So that vision session is really important to how they build it. There's like an urban park, and so they'll get different inputs from what the people in our community that are going to use it want.
Yeah, and that's a fair question, because if they said for $500,000, we're going to give you one piece of equipment, so we laid out minimum requirements, et cetera. They showed us the park, how they envision it up front. I don't know how else to answer the question, but for $500,000, we think through the committee, Vaughn and Linda, who've built these parks before, that we can, been part of the parks before, that we will get the equipment that we want that's on our rough estimate. This isn't designed starting from scratch. It's kind of like, this is what we think it should be. Do you have anything you want to tweak? It's basically Northville. Northville's built it for the same amount of money.
So we should go look at Northville.
I think it would be a good road trip.
Councilmember King?
I'm a little uncomfortable. I don't see anything that calls out, like, how many feet, square feet, it's not in here. I don't see anything that outlines, like, how many pieces we're gonna get with it. Like, we're very trusting, it seems, of, like, they're gonna deliver for this cost. And maybe you've had a lot more from the interactions,
I
right?
personally have not, but the people that we've consulted with, Vaughn and Linda, who've built one, this is how it's done. I mean, this is how the industry is, you start with the space, you build within that space. Or, I don't know that this could be done any differently.
Councilmember Hauser?
Oh, sure.
You had your hand up, right?
I did.
Yeah.
So I had a conversation with Councilperson Jones, and I spoke to the city attorney. I too had some concerns about this, and I don't want to derail it, but a couple of them were, frankly, the terms of payment, and the way that this was structured, percentage complete and what we would consider to be a front-end loaded payment terms. And then there was, frankly, no time for construction in here. There was no schedule, so there was nothing in there specifically that said, hey, it's going to take 4 months, 5 months, 6 months. So that was a concern. And then I also had an issue concerning the dispute resolution mechanism, with respect to arbitration and jams. And I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but from a practice standpoint, it was a little bit outside the norm. So I did talk to Councilperson Jones about it. I also had a conversation with the city attorney, and I will let city attorney talk about the conversation he had with the contractor. But these were addressed, and I think there were some conversations that took place to address these particular points that I'd raised about money, time, and then obviously dispute resolution. But those were some concerns that I had when I read this contract.
City attorney?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I did talk to Councilmember Hauser this afternoon and was able to reach out to the contacts that I've been working with, which I'll have to say, they've been very user-friendly and very amicable in discussions, because there's been some other changes, dialogue that's been going back and forth on this agreement, including probably most significantly, we ended up negotiating a second-year warranty instead of the 1-year warranty that they feel is standard, and with no additional cost, which I think is important. But as to the 3 items that Councilmember Hauser just mentioned, the start and end time frames, I did communicate with my contact there, and she said that they'd be happy to put in a start and anticipated completion date, so it's in the agreement. She, considering the nature of the 11th hour of my request to her, as well as the fact that it's Thanksgiving, she won't have her contractor contacts to be able to tell us that until probably next week, and so I'll give an option on how to proceed on that item. The payment schedule, I did mention the concern about the payment schedule being more front-loaded, or it's essentially 75% complete when the building, the construction, the visual is at 50%. And she did suggest that we could work through that process with doing with an upfront payment, but then tie the construction payments to a percentage complete, so it maps their progress with that. She was amenable to that. Again, the actual details, she said she would have to work out with her people and then us. And then the arbitration provision, we talked about our preference to not have the arbitration process that they have in there, but using the rules of the AAA, the arbitration that's around here, and more of a concept of a private arbitration using the rules of these arbitration, because it can get quite costly if you don't have control of that process. And so it sounded like they were amenable to that as well. So I was very appreciative of her quickly responding to me before the meeting tonight. So what I would suggest can happen is that if City Council does intend to proceed with approval of this contract tonight, that it would be subject to administration and city attorney's approval on those 3 items, the language. And if we're not satisfied, then we would bring it back to City Council. But the parameters, that the items that we're going to address, including a start and end time frame, a revised payment schedule. The numbers don't change. It's just the when those payment would occur, and then the massaging of the language on the arbitration provision. So I'm comfortable with approval of the contract, subject to final administrative approval on those 3 items.
Mayor Pro Tem Vixen?
Yeah, don't we get to see, like Councilmember King says, when we get to, how are we voting on something that we haven't seen? I mean, like, for example, like the Graham, we saw pictures and presentations, and don't see anything.
Right, if I may, so, on something like this, the way they design, you go out, they've been to the site, they went out there and showed us Northville, showed their drawings, and said, this is per square foot, how many items you would get. You don't want that you do not want that to the public yet, because it's not designed yet. They are designing it, then they'll run it by the committee that's been working on it, and if we all agree, they know they've got to build it that way. So it's not a structure or anything, so I don't know how to say any different. That's there's a map that shows where they're going to build it. They're out there, laid it all out, and
I see where we're going to build it, I don't see what we're going to build.
right. And
But there isn't even a conceptual drawing or features or?
not to nail down yet, no. That's what they're going to do through the design.
That's hard to vote for that.
But you can't get it, they are the ones designing it, not us.
Right,
So we have to,
I guess we
I could see
we
if
have
we're
to,
being asked for like a design cost and we do the design, right?
Councilmember Sage?
So part of
I'm not moving the discussion along, I would like to hear your thoughts on this.
so part of the payment terms are 5% payment upon completion of design development, which would include the public input, include their design to us. Would you feel more comfortable we just said there's no payment until we actually have design development completed? Right? So that means they've walked the site, which you say they've already done.
no, there's no way.
Councilmember Hauser?
If I can, again, and I'm not trying to derail this whole process, but typically what would happen is you would have a pre-construction budget and then a construction budget, and you would pay them X amount for the pre-construction costs, 25,000, 30,000, whatever that number is based on the 5% there. They bring it to you. If that looks good, then you say, okay, go ahead and proceed with the construction, and it's the trigger. So you have to give them something to do the schematics and the drawings and layouts, but it would be contingent on, acceptance by the group and say, okay, this looks fine, then let's proceed with the build. If we don't like what they do initially, you can say either go back and try it again, or we're done, we're gonna go somewhere else. So that, to me, would be the sequence of events, which this doesn't cover. And so I think last time we talked, it was like I said the A133, where it's like, hey, we're gonna have a pre-construction, then a construction. That's how I would have structured this, but those are just my own views. But again, I understand time is of the essence, but I don't want to derail this.
Councilmember Trent, did you have something?
Well, I mean, in this contract, I don't see, like, they give you the design, right? So then you have, like, how many changes? Like, I mean, and anyway, are any of us experts on this? I mean, we're probably not, assume we don't have very many changes on it. So you give them you got to put a down payment for anything. So, I mean, it is not a huge building or anything. I mean, I understand. I think that there should be some of these items changed in it, but I would go along with Councilmember Sage if what he was saying is, 5% down, that's a down payment. They show you designs, and this is a legitimate company that has been vetted. I'm not, and apparently there's calls made to Northville, and I'm sure to find out how good they are. I see what you're saying, because I sure did ask for some other plans on my previous request I will not mention, and I will not ask for these at this time.
So it sounds like at a minimum, we have some questions or some additional work to do on this contract. Is there a time of the essence? I mean, Councilmember Jones, is it?
I mean, I thought when I read through the packet, the construction would be in the spring and completed by summer.
Yeah, right.
Okay?
Right, so I mean, it seems like we have a little time. So if we could, council give, or hopefully you've heard the feedback from council and city administration, take this back and rework this contract?
Understand, but I need to have you clear. Are you guys going to approve what it looks like, or the committee going to approve? You send it to a committee to design the skate park with $500,000 budget. These people will design it through the committee. If you all want to sign off on it, that's fine. We could say, it's not going to the planning commission, so. If you want to see the final design, we'd have to, like you said, pay for that separately, and then.
Councilmember
See, the
Trent?
problem is, if they design it, I can tell you this, they won't design it and let somebody else build it. This is a design build. That's how we did the RFP. It was set up that way. So we're either gonna have them design, if we don't like it, we just eat that money and don't build it, but we can't take their design and give it to somebody else to build. This is.
It's very clear. It's
Okay, that's fine. We can
So,
figure that out.
so we're not going back and asking for the design before we pay him anything. That's not what we're asking for. We're asking to revise his contract a bit, right?
You want to
Yep,
pay them
somebody's
for
saying-
the design only.
And who signs off on that
They
design?
won't do that.
You want city council too?
Councilmember King?
I think what we're saying is we don't want to enter a contract for 500 grand without knowing what we're getting.
Right.
So we want to break it up where you do the design, we approve it, then we approve the budget for the remaining amount. Like, I personally, I want to see at least have whether I'm the one saying, okay, this is the right design, I think the committee can work with them to figure out what it is, but I want to know what we're getting for that money, right? Like, I don't want to just write a blank check, here's 500 grand, go out and design something and it comes back and it's like, we got you a quarter of what we thought we could get you because construction prices have gone up. And we could end up in that position easily.
I didn't think that that's what this was saying.
Okay. City administration, is it clear? Jeremy, do you have something to add on this?
If I may.
Yep.
I was also in one of the meetings. They did have a booklet of just kind of what they were thinking, that they hand out to people for just at coffee tables type stuff. The website is very nice. I was looking over it today. I don't know if you've all also looked at the website, but that might kind of show you kind of what kind of style they're going for. And they did heavily say that they use the community meeting, like Mrs. Jones, or like Councilmember Jones said, because each portion of the state, country, they skate in a very different way. And they like very different elements, especially in an urban skate park environment, because they grow up skating in Rochester or they grow up skating in Northville, and those cities have very different factors that they prefer, and that's what makes going to different skate parks across the state and across the country really cool, because they skate in a completely different style. So I would like to pull up the website if that would help anybody, but I also understand the process that you guys are going through as well.
I think council can go to the website themselves. I do think
bring
it's
it back.
important
I
to
got
get the input from the committee, but I think kind of the final should be approved by council. I mean, I don't know that how many of us are avid skateboarders, but, so I think the committee should do their work and bring us some recommendations.
Absolutely. We can do that.
Councilmember Sage?
Well, maybe we could propose to Spawn Ranch that, okay, part of their design development process, one of the phases is the information gathering and review. Okay, do that, then we can address the contract. So it gets the input from the local community, it gets the input from them as the experts in this. They understand the space, so they can make recommendations once they're provided the input to say, well, here's what we really could do or can't do. And maybe that just resolves all this issue. Then we have an actual design element, if you will, and then we come back and address the contract.
Right, and then I think we're okay with some compensation for the design work, but I think we want to know what we're getting. We don't want to have just a cement pad for 500,000. I mean, not to exceed is clear, but we kind of want a little bit more on what we're getting.
Okay.
Councilmember Trent?
I'm just going to comment from being in the creative industry. This is like a size of pretty good sized website in my world, right? So if this cost is set at 500,000, then you're kind of going out of the scope of work by trying to piecemeal this, in my world, if they have skinnied this down to $500,000, they were not told they have any more than $500,000. I'm just thinking, I'm not on this committee, I'm just thinking from the world I work in. Then you have to get this to fit within this budget, but if you start going back and forth, the out of scope is going to happen pretty quickly. And then for them to feel like, kind of like, well, if they don't want what we've given them, and it could be a good product, I know I don't know these people, I'm just throwing it out there, they may pull their contract, and then they have to go do the second one.
So let me help clarify some of this. So this is under a source well contract, right? So this is very defined. Once you enter into a source well contract, it has a finite dollar amount. So they know exactly what they have to spend. So I don't think there'll be any misinformation there. They entered into this or submitted their, with that full understanding. I mean, they even state in here that they will be operating under Sourcewell contract to give a contract number, et cetera. So I would feel more comfortable, as I think everyone said, it would be easier to approve a contract if you kind of had an idea of what, just give me a picture.
Yep.
And help me understand. I don't want to develop it on the go, but I also think we need input from the local community and the committee and the designers and developers of it. They would be able to lend a lot of institutional knowledge in this.
Yeah, and great questions, can't defend them. I think you asked great questions. Easy for me to go back to Spawn. I wasn't leading this, it was all set up for me, but I'm in it now. So I get you 100%, I agree 100%. We should see, and we'll find out how we do that. I'll talk to Northville, see how they did it, but I get it. So
Okay.
just, I withdraw
Councilmember
this item
Jones,
tonight.
anything else you want to say on this?
We're good.
Okay,
We'll make it happen.
all right.
I do.
Councilmember Trent?
Thank you. So, yeah, I think talking to Northville would be excellent to see if there's what type of flexibility there is with it. Because I do understand about not seeing things. I do get that.
From a creative standpoint.
From a creative standpoint, yes. And they might not be able to give you anything exact until they, they're doing discovery and fact-finding. They're not just giving you a cookie cutter.
Correct.
So it's customized.
Yep. City Clerk, do we need a motion to table? No?
No, Your
Okay.
Honor.
Can I just say, well,
Yep.
I mean, don't we get something that, the size of this and the color of that and,
At the point.
right? I mean,
It's in the document, there's color.
well,
There's all
right, but I
that
mean, we
stuff.
need to see.
Okay, that's, I
Okay.
think that's.
Again, this is a
Everybody
little bit of a
good?
hybrid
Got
since
your-
it's design.
is,
So
yes.
Yep.
got it.
Councilmember King, anything else?
I was gonna say, I think having the specs of, this is the size, this is the number of accessories of equipment, like, that's what I would be looking for, so.
Something.
Message, I think.
Yeah.
Some parameters.
And so normally what we did at the skate parks, we said we want this, 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 and this, then we bid it and see how much it was gonna cost. That's how we got a grant. This is, you backed us into, here's 500 grand, but we don't want a slab of cement for 500 grand. So it's a little trickier, but we'll get there. Okay?
Okay, all right, so we don't need any motions to, well, they know what to do, they'll bring it back. Okay, item C, consideration to approve the purchase of a 2025 Chevy Equinox from Fox Chevrolet for $32,768. I see Chief George approaching.
Madam Mayor, congratulations.
Thank you.
Very well deserved. Mayor Pro Tem, thank you for your service and supporting me and the department for all those years. Really appreciate it, so. Yes, this is we're following the vehicle replacement schedule. This particular vehicle will be assigned to the Detective Bureau. We went out Lieutenant Harper went out for 3 bids. All the quotes were just about the same. We have a business relationship with Fox Chevrolet. We bought 2 Tahoes from them recently, and they gave us the best price. So what I want to add too is I came to you maybe 3 months ago, and we were going to replace this particular vehicle, this 2012 Dodge Journey for the Detective Bureau. And we ended up buying the Tahoe, but we did some vehicle switching around, and I assigned the Tahoe to the lieutenant. He's able to drive the vehicle to and from work and during the course of employment. We did follow the budget. However, we do have 2 detective bureaus. One's a 2012, one's a 2017. Both need to be replaced. Yes, we have a vehicle replacement schedule. That's subject to change all the time. And the main thing is we're staying within the budget. Anytime we purchase a car or any expensive equipment, I always go to our finance director, we sat down with him on this, just to make sure that we're doing everything proper. So I don't want you to think that we're buying an extra vehicle for the Detective Bureau. This will replace the 2012 that it was supposed to be replaced, and the other vehicle's probably going to get removed from our fleet. We don't need 2 detective cars. The problem that we have is that the detectives do not drive them that much, and they sit. And when a vehicle sits, you get rust on the rotors, the brakes go bad, the batteries go. We're constantly putting money into them. They're costing us a fortune. So we'll probably end up just having the one new vehicle and we'll eliminate the other one. So that's it.
Councilmember Jones?
And I did leave a message earlier about this. So just when I look back, I understand even better. May 1, you came to us and you asked for 2 Chevy Tahoes, and the one Tahoe was replacing this 2012 Dodge Journey.
Yes.
Okay, and then, and I know you just explained it, I might need a better explanation. And then today you're coming back and saying you want to replace the same 2012 Dodge Journey. I don't know how that doesn't mean there's an extra vehicle.
Well, there is an extra vehicle. There's an extra detective vehicle right now. We have
So
a
the
2000
Tahoe was the extra vehicle then?
The Tahoe was originally going to replace this car, but then we felt it wasn't conducive to have a Tahoe for surveillance. If they have to do surveillance, it looks just like a police car. So I assigned that vehicle to the lieutenant. This vehicle will be replaced, and we're more than likely going to get rid of the other vehicle because that needs to be replaced soon too. That's a 2017, and we're sinking a lot of money.
But the only thing about the 2017 is it has under 30,000 miles, so doesn't have a lot of miles on it.
The 2017?
Yeah, at least the report that you had given us on May 13, it had 25,000 miles.
Yeah, I don't know how accurate that is right now, but,
Okay.
yeah.
And then the only other thing is when you'd come up May 1 for the 2 Tahoes and the Harley, you had said that your budget and equipment rental fund was $131,578, and that approval that day on May 1 was giving a deficit of $2,500, but the proceeds from the sales of the other cars would help towards that deficit. So it sounds like the fund, my only concern, it sounds like the fund was already in deficit, but yet we're approving possibly another 30, whatever that is today.
If I'm not
32.
mistaken, we're allotted 3 vehicles this current fiscal year. The one Tahoe we bought, this would be the second one, and we'll come to you probably next 2 or 3 months for the third one, so we're done. Next year, we're allotted for 2 vehicles. And again, the vehicle replacement schedule is not etched in stone. Like, right now, it says we're supposed to replace our Polaris that we drive, that, the four-wheeler we have. I don't think it's necessary to replace right now. We can keep it a few more years. A lot of these cars that are supposed to be replaced, we don't replace them. We hold on to them for another year. We try to get another year or 2 out of them. We try to stretch it out, but I see we're spending an astronomical amount of money to maintain these vehicles. Again, they run all the time. They idle all the time. It's costing us a fortune. So, like I said, when I came to you last time, a vehicle with 50,000 miles is like a vehicle with 100,000 miles because it gets.
So this is in the budget, you're not out of
Yes.
budget?
This is within the budget. Yes, it is.
Councilmember Trent?
So going back to the Tahoe, you said it's used by Lieutenant Harper,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
To drive to and from work?
Yes.
So is that typical, is he driving it here, and then he just drives it home, and then he comes back?
To and from work and during employment. So when he goes out on the road, he'll take the car. When he goes to a meeting in another community, which he does all the time, he belongs to a number of task forces and all that, he takes the car.
But, I mean, is that typical, though, to give officers a car?
Yes.
Is he he's not the only one? Do other officers have do they have the ability to drive their cars that they drive?
Typically, in my 38-year career, the chief typically gets the car and the second in command. He's second in command of the department. A lot of things that he does after hours, he's a union employee, and technically he's supposed to be paid. He does not take pay. So the car is like compensation.
But he's the only one, right? That
Yes,
gets a
and the
car.
detectives,
Okay.
the on-call detective takes the car home while he's on call.
Okay, well, thank you.
That's it. Nobody else takes the car home.
Okay, that's good to know. So I have another question. I have been here for a couple of years, seeing the vehicle replacements, and I just thought, I need to really wrap my head around this to fully understand. I have citizens asking me, they see a lot of vehicles there, and they ask me questions, right? Yeah. And I have questions. So I looked up, did some research on idling time for a car and, how that affects it and its longevity. So 1 hour of idling is equivalent to driving approximately 25 to 33 miles in terms of wear. So I don't know how accurate it is for you to say, like, out of 58,000 miles, how much is that idling? Is that 30,000? Is it 40? Can it be that accurate? That's my first question.
Well, the only thing I could say, I'm not a mechanic. The cars run constantly, especially in the wintertime. The officers let the cars run in the carports because they have to go in, if they shut the car off and there's frost in the window, then they gotta scrape it off and that delays their response time. So the cars run. 2 to 3, sometimes 4 officers will drive one car. It's a different driving pattern. So when you have different driving patterns, typically the tires wear more quickly, the brakes wear more quickly. And we always have cars that are out of service. They need maintenance, or let's say one gets hit. It may take weeks before, I've had cars for months in service waiting to get parts. And you have to remember, it looks like we have a big fleet here, but 2 of those cars every day go to the school officers. One is assigned to the ordinance officer, one is assigned to the parking enforcement officer. And then you have different shifts. You can't have the same cars on one shift. You have to split them up, because we'll be replacing cars every 2 years here.
So the whole fleet is running all winter long to keep the frost off the windows?
No.
Okay.
Usually the cars that are in use
Okay.
by the shift. In typical shift, we have a sergeant and 2 patrol officers. In our canine, I'll tell you, the canine car runs all the time for the dog. In the heat, the air's on, and in the cold, the heat's on. So that car runs 10 hours a day.
Is there an alternative to keep the frost off? Are there like
Maybe
heated
get a garage,
pads or something?
enclosed garage with
Well,
some
I don't know, a heated pad that you, electrical pad, I don't know.
No.
But
I know what you're saying. There's no really easy solution. And I'm not saying they run, like in the summertime, we don't let, I can't tell you how many emails I put out, do not let your car run in the summertime. There's no reason why the vehicle should run in the summertime when the officer's in here typing a report. We're talking mainly the cold, inclement weather type things.
Okay. Well, so this is why I'm asking these questions, because you go from the purchases in accordance with the current vehicle replacement schedule and its budgeted item, when does it match up to, engine health, transmission performance, brake system wear, suspension and steering components, or electrical system functionality? Because when I was trying to figure, the final thing I looked up was, signs it's time to replace, and it seems like purchase in accordance with the current vehicle replacement, does that match up to repair costs approach or exceed the vehicle's value, or the safety features are outdated or insufficient? I mean, is there something that correlates with anything like major components, engine or transmission? How's the transmission? Because those are pretty big, those are important parts of a car. Do we have a transmission check? Like, is it on a scale of 1 to 10, it's 8? The transmission's going to fall out at, mile 65,000.
We keep track in every car, I can tell you to the penny, how much each car costs for maintenance. And then when we replace a car, we have to fill out this score sheet. I don't know if you read the score sheet. There's certain points that are allotted to certain things of the car, the age of the car, the mileage, whether or not it was in an accident, how much money we put into it. And there's a score that's linked with this, and the total points on this particular vehicle is 42. And I believe I think it's 23. After 23, it should be replaced. So, and here's the thing, if we push it, I mean, we're not going to just buy a car because, it'd be kind of cool to have a new car. If there's a lot of money going into the car, like for instance, the canine car, we're sinking, I bet you we put in $10,000 in that car in the last 3 months. Just things keep going, the radiator, the hoses, the pumps. And if we constantly put money in a certain car, maybe it's time to go. But other cars that have a lot of miles, but we're not sinking a lot of money into them and nobody's complaining about, we'll stretch it out.
Can I ask, are you comparing a normal car or a cop car?
So I'm looking at this, I have one more question.
No, is it what you're reading, is that on a normal car?
It's police. I looked up, it was police use, the idle time, yeah. And what it said was civilian use was 150,000 to 200,000 miles, and then it said police use was 100,000 to 150,000. So I thought, even if this is 20% off.
I know Councilmember Sage is chomping at the bit to say something here. So Marilyn, Councilmember Trina, I want to make sure you get your last question out, and then I'd like to hear from Councilmember
I
Sage.
just have to question the information data source you got, that you say the average police car goes for 100 to 150,000
No,
miles.
it said it was, I was asking for an average. So I was looking through the websites, trying to figure it
So,
out.
one thing, because I've had the experience on this board, is that all the departments and all the vehicles have been very fiscally responsible with regard to replacement. They have extended life on certain cars. Some we've won on, some we've lost on by the increased maintenance. The thing you need to separate here, it's not your personal car where you commute
No,
to
I
work
didn't think it
and you
was.
come back home. This is an instrument, a tool within the scope of their job to perform the service that our citizens enjoy. Those cars and vehicles experience different environments, different stresses than our personal cars. So it's very hard to actually get down to say, well, I really think you could take another 2 weeks on that vehicle. I think we've had the experience with all these vehicles over time, the maintenance schedules, the replacement cost on repair, accidents, et cetera. I think the one nice thing we've done is have this vehicle replacement fund and parameters around that based on usage. So I find it very hard up here to question the people that actually use these vehicles, have the experience, the data for over 20, 30 years. I find that very hard. I will support this. I will make the motion now to support replacement of this vehicle.
And remember one thing, these cars, the police officers, that's their office. They work 12-hour shifts. They spend about 8 hours in this car. And as the police chief, I have to make certain that that car is safe for them. And I want it safe. And I'm not just gonna come up here and ask you, hey, again, I just wanna buy a car just to buy it. Because if I did that, I shouldn't even be in this position. I'm doing this, I'm following the replacement schedule. I have meetings with the finance director. The money is allotted for this. And I'm coming up here and ask to replace it. That's it. You know, I don't know what else to say. When we talk about idling and stuff, I'm just telling you, from my personal vehicle compared to a police officer's or a police vehicle, there's no comparison. They get beat up. They're beat up.
Councilmember Jones, I think you said you had a question.
Well, I just want to make a comment because I agree. I will end up supporting this, but I do want to go on the record. I feel I'm very concerned that we are actually voting on replacing the same vehicle twice because we've already replaced it May 1 when you bought 2 Tahoes. And I also am concerned that we bought an unmarked Tahoe for a
We only
lieutenant.
bought one Tahoe.
We bought
right?
2.
2 Tahoes.
We bought 2
Yeah.
Tahoe. One was for the chief, absolutely right. You should have an unmarked vehicle that you take back and forth home. I agree with that. I just don't agree with the second Tahoe that was bought for the lieutenant, for him to drive back and forth to work. That is unmarked. And so I need that to go on the record, that I think we're buying the same twice, and I will definitely support this. That's very concerning to me.
And just real quick, typically when a vehicle is assigned to somebody to drive home, we don't normally assign them a marked vehicle. We don't want people to know where we live,
No,
what we do.
it shouldn't be marked, but I don't feel like that position, because it's never been done before in this department, should have been given a new Tahoe. That's my concern. Nothing against that officer or his quality of work or anything. I just feel for such a small department, I have to represent the citizens and comments that have come to me. But I do agree, you certainly have an old car here that,
And just keep in mind that that's not a contractual thing. That could be removed just by an email. You know, we're gonna see how it goes, and if it works out, great. If not, we remove it.
thank you.
So also what I'm hearing from council is maybe we need to look at this schedule. Maybe the Budget and Finance Committee meeting can look at this schedule as part of our Budget Committee.
I would like that.
Especially having Councilmember Sage and Councilmember Trent on that committee. Councilmember Trent.
I would like to, just for the record, say, yes, I support my police department. I also have to ask hard questions, and I feel a little bit concerned about being lectured about asking questions that people don't want me to ask. And this is the last, I won't ask very many more, because I got a lot answered. But the fact that I have to be lectured about it, I'm just going to express my unhappiness.
Councilmember Trent, you should always feel welcome to ask questions. Absolutely. Before a meeting, during a meeting, whenever. Absolutely. So we have a motion on the floor from Councilmember Sage. Oh, sorry.
I just have, I wanted to make a comment. So I'm looking at the replacement scorecard, and I noticed that, 28 is a category of poor, and it should be replaced. I'm wondering if our scorecard needs some revamping. We're at a 42 here.
That's what I just suggested.
That's really bad, right? Like, that, to me, this should be a no-brainer. We should just be doing it. Why are we at that point, right? Like, is our scorecard a little too favorable, and we really could adjust it? So I think if we can adjust, if we can take a look, is this, really accurate, right?
Great. So we have a motion. Second by Jones. Any other discussion? City Clerk, please.
Salvia,
Yes.
Vixen,
Yes.
Hauser,
Yes.
Jones,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Sage,
Yes.
Trent.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is receipt of the check register.
I had a comment on the previous item, and she didn't ask for comments.
I apologize for that. If you could please come forward, I apologize. I was thinking about that, I know you have an item, and I
Mr.
missed that.
Smith.
My comment's not going to be negative, by the way, so I just wanted to mention, Nick, it's not negative.
Could you state your name and address,
Most of you don't know me up
please?
here, so I'll tell a quick story that'll give you a clue. Back in 1994, I bought my first lot for $30,000. And Ed Allward, your beloved building inspector, is not here anymore, unfortunately. He was a terrific building inspector, said to me, "You gotta be crazy. You're gonna build a new house in downtown Rochester and try to sell it for $225,000? Are you crazy?" I said, "Ed, this area is surrounded by well-to-do. It's only gonna get better. You watch." And about 5 years later, I bought a property. It cost me the same as that $225,000. My name is Dave Smith. I'm the builder that built houses in town here.
Yeah, you
And
are.
I know Stu knows me and Nick knows me.
I know.
I also, though, I want to mention the skate park, I'm a frequent basketball court user. I've used those basketball courts since 1978. Back then, we used to have games every night, actually. We had the chairman of General Motors would play down here. We had several doctors. We played about every night. But I still shoot every day on the half court. And during the summer, there's a couple young people that have clinics for young kids, so I use the half court. So I did talk to Nick, and he told me he's gonna resurface the full court, and he's mentioned that they're gonna do a half court also. I just wanna support it because I go there every day. I'm there, if it's not covered with snow or it's not raining, I'm there. You'll see me tomorrow morning there, probably. So I just wanted to tell you that. The only caution I have is, since I'm a Northern California guy and went to a Northern California school, I wouldn't trust an LA company. That's the part that's scary. Anything to do with close to Southern Cal, University of Southern Cal, is not something I'd want to see. So, but that's here nor there. That's just off the cuff. So I was there when they did the soil borings. It looked like they were doing a good job on the soil borings, so that was good too. So thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
And please remember that story about Ed Allward. He was a terrific building inspector. I loved him. He was terrific. Leanne
Thank
knows
you.
what I'm
Mr.
talking
Smith.
about.
And do you still live here in town?
Say again?
Do you still live here in town?
I own a house at 316 3rd Street. My son, Jay Gamble, lives there. I own the house. I keep telling Corey, can you turn the water off, please? Because he won't pay the water bill, so I have to pay it, I said, Corey, can't you just turn it off when he's taking a shower for me? He said, no, I can't do that. Not allowed to do that. So Corey's the kind of guy that I can't believe didn't play basketball. He's as tall as I am. I said, you didn't play, you're crazy, So anyway, I still own that house, and I wish that I owned more, for sure. And we love Rochester.
So, Mr. Smith, I have a question for you. Where was your first house on Pine Street?
220 Oak Street.
220 Oak.
My second was 815 Pine Street. You're close. 815
I
Pine,
was
I
the
sold
proud,
to
I was the proud
Dr.
buyer of
Tony
your
Warner.
second house.
Was the first owner at 815 Pine. And I subsequently built 3 houses for him. He kept moving, and I built 3 more houses for that same doctor. So that was a good story. So that was the second house.
Thank you. I don't know if you heard him say, he bought one of your houses.
Say again?
Steve
Oh,
actually
I
bought
bought
one
the
of your
second
houses.
house.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
I
Well,
remember.
we hope that it's doing well for you.
Very well.
So,
I have a quick comment. So my first city council meeting, I had to vote on Bigfoot houses for his house.
1999.
we've had a lot of debates, that's for sure. All the way from the demolition ban that was in place at one point, all the way to, I think my favorite house was on Dre Street. It was inhabited by people that sold drugs. And the neighbors literally came out and cheered when we tore it down. So, I mean, that was probably one of the highlights too.
Yeah, it was, Fox, I think it was Fox 2, or they came here. I did too, about the Bigfoot houses coming in by Dave Smith.
Controversial,
Yeah,
though,
it was
at the
very controversial at the time.
So
Yep.
we would, and then the scariest house was the one on the corner of 3rd and Pine. It's a beautiful home. And I bought it, and of course, they were mortified that I was gonna tear it down. I said, no, we're gonna restore it. It's gonna look just like it does now. It's got a big addition in back. It's beautiful. That
Yes,
house
it
beautiful,
is.
as you know what
It
I'm
is.
talking about there.
Yeah, you did a lot of nice work.
Anyway, so that was a scary one too, so.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for coming
Remember that about
and
Ed.
sharing
That
some
was
stories
terrific.
with us. Thank
Thank you,
you.
Nick.
Appreciate it.
I gotta go see a grandson. We'll see you later.
All right. All right. Where do we leave off there? Check register. All right. Any discussion on the check register? Thank you. Moving on to reports from our various boards and commissions. First up, we have City Beautiful Commission. So I believe that is,
I was gonna say, if city manager wants to take that and the tree committee and maybe put it all together. I am really.
I have tree committee. I have tree committee.
Oh, you wanna do tree committee? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry. Don't talk about the trees.
Yeah, so I can, if you will, for the City Beautiful Commission, we met on November
Step on the
13th.
tree committee talks.
Colin Pettit from DPW goes with me, and first we just talk about what happened in the park, the status of really over the summer, the work we did. We give them an update on how many benches we sold and which trees were planted, the tree sponsorships that you see the little copper butterflies on. So we fill them in on that. Then we also discussed the opportunity that we hope we don't get, that our beloved Bart from Lawn Works had given Christy Trevaro at the DDA a notice that he was going to retire. Bart's been here 26 years. He's longer than Christy even. And he's the guy that does all the downtown maintenance for $125,000. And we bid it out 5 years ago, and it came in at $480,000. Now it would be about $800,000, we've been told. So Bart told Christy, I'm wearing out, this might be the time. So a bunch of us had talks with Bart about how about find some muscle for your company and you be the brains behind it, because it's his brain that designs this stuff and cares. So he's contemplating that. So we went over that and we talked to them, because he does a lot of the stuff for City Hall also, that the fall and seasonal plantings, he takes care of that. So we went through all of that. And then we had a goals and objectives portion of the meeting to talk about things that are coming up. So things like the connecting path from Dino Hill. We want to get DPW to work through there and get that crushed limestone through there, build little elbows of wildflower plantings along that path. We talked about that. Then we identified locations for other pollinator parks within the city. And then we talked about the microforest. So we're working on that with the tree committee to come up with a place at Scott Street Park to build our first microforest. So we went through all that. They looked at where they stood with their present budget, what they would look at for some signage, for some informational sharing signage within the town. And we were there a couple hours, I think. So it was a good meeting.
nice. Councilmember Jones, something
I
else?
just want to thank you for that. It is such a learning curve for me right now, tree committee and City Beautiful. But two things. One, we did talk about how do we get more information out to the public about rain gardens and, you know, how we can be environmentally conscious. So we talked about maybe doing a little postcard type thing that we could have when new families come into town and they come in for the first time into the office. So we're working on that. But the other thing is, so this afternoon, because they talk about so many areas of the park and I have no idea what they're talking about, we did a field trip today with Colin. And I now know everything about the park. It was very informative. He did it, I believe, possibly on his own time. And I just am very grateful for Colin and his knowledge of the park and what we're going to be able to do in some different areas with the mini forest and over by the community gardens. And we are incredibly blessed to have so many energized people around our parks and what we're doing. So I'm grateful.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Moving on to the Budget and Finance Committee, Councilmember Trent.
Yes, we had a meeting on Wednesday, November 13th, and we discussed the SWAT with notable exceptions between council and votes and the staff. We were doing kind of aligning if there were differences in the voting. We're awaiting Sarah's votes, and I don't know if she's done that.
Yes.
Are we still waiting?
Nope.
Oh, she did, okay. Well, that was that day, she sent them, okay. And then we're going to we're prioritizing for the fiscal year in 2026 and the project scorecard and the manager's report. Number 2, the budget schedule. It was discussed because we have upcoming budget workshops with city council and the administration. And we have to set those in January, February, March, so we set those for January 25th, February 22nd, and March 22nd. And then we canceled the December committee meeting because we've got getting ready for some pretty intense workshops because we have to get the budget for 2026 set. So our master fee schedule, we plan to bring that back to council in December without the cemetery change, and the pet licenses and rental and businesses license and inspection items might be delayed. So, but there's plenty other things on that schedule. So there you go. We talked about possible affordability of a code enforcement officer, but that is more information to come on that.
Thank you. And on the SWAT, city administration, now that we have all of the votes, will that come back to council via a city manager's packet?
I think actually, I thought Marcia already sent it out, but she did, yeah,
came
you
out.
got it
Okay.
already.
City
She's
managers
combined,
did.
put into 3 different with Sarah's in there.
Okay, excellent, great. There was just one interesting discrepancy between administration and council regarding succession planning, so I thought that was interesting. Okay, next item is Community House. I'm on that board. We met last week. Financials are strong. It's a busy season there, Christmas season. There is an opening on the board. They are looking to the different groups and committees that use the Community House, but Alan Smith at the Community House is taking applications for the Community House board. Paint Creek Trailways, Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Most of the discussion surrounded Bridge 31-7 and the planning and the progress we're making towards replacement of that. So I do know that we have some paperwork that needs to be submitted from the trail. We're trying to figure out how, with all the grants we got, how we're going to do the money, because it is on a reimbursable schedule, right? So obviously the trail can't put up $960,000 and wait to be reimbursed because it doesn't have that. So we're working through that to figure out, based on the percentage of the grants we got, how we'll go through the process. So there'll be more information.
Okay, thank you.
Can I ask?
Sure.
Which bridge is that? Sorry, I don't know, mile
Sorry.
31-7.
It's our only bridge on the trail. So,
Right on the other side of Woodward, right?
yeah, right on the other side
The
of
first
Woodward.
bridge you go over
Just
past
beyond
Woodward.
Solaronics.
Yeah, right past Solar.
Oh,
It's the beginning of
Big
Dinosaur
walk, James,
Hill.
Kind of by
the bridge.
Dinosaur Hill-ish.
got it.
Yeah. The apartments are on the left.
It's our bridge, 31-7, now you know.
Okay.
Now you can be cool.
There's lots of
Now you
bridges
can be
on the
cool,
trail, I
and you
just didn't
can,
know
you
that.
can just call it
Okay.
31-7.
Our bridge.
Yeah, our bridge,
bridge.
yeah. All right, how about a report from the DDA? Councilmember Trent?
I was unable to attend that meeting.
Yeah,
Good.
I have it. We had a report from Nick on what's going on in all the different projects in the city. It sounds like we're making progress on a number of them, finally. We had an update on the Graham. They're making progress on it. We're going to have some numbers and pictures at the next meeting. And there's still some litigation going on. It's the most adjudicated small piece of property in the history of
I know.
of the world, I guess. And then I talked about, we had the expo that was very successful, And then the gift certificate match program, the credit union bailed out on some stuff, so we're gonna kick in a little more money, but it's non-tax money. So it's, where we match the things, but it's money they've made from selling things and things, so it's not tax dollars. And then we set our December schedule. That was it.
Great, thank you. Historical Commission, back to Councilmember Sage.
Thank you, Mayor. All right, first item, the DOR book, we had a run on, last month, we sold 4 of them. So,
Christmas is coming, it's a great gift.
and this is my first public announcement,
Council
right?
doesn't have one.
Exactly. Who doesn't? Founder's Day, there was a slight update. It will be, same speaker that we had announced before, but it will be on the Sunday, March 23rd now. Slight change in the process. City Attorney, I think you saw a note. I guess there's a contract now we have to sign with the museum for use, and maybe that's just standard. I mean, there's no cost to us, but.
Yeah, so I was asked to take a quick look. It's a one-pager, essentially a use agreement that someone put together, and it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, very good. The historical plaque program, I know Councilmember Trent will be mentioning something. I would like to say Councilmember Trent's plaque is the 151st plaque we have awarded through the program. Nice. And actually, Councilmember Trent and I have a list of all the
Your
houses.
friends.
So you are on that.
I'm on the
prestigious
esteemed list, yes.
Nice. Congratulations. That's pretty cool.
That's it.
Excellent.
1940.
Do we have any, Councilmember
World
King?
War II.
We missed the update for Rah-Rah. Can I give that update real quick?
Yes, yes.
So we had a pretty robust meeting, so I have a good update here. We've had 9,493 participants to date at Rah-Rah. Our revenue is higher than the previous 4 years, with only half of November and December registration to go. That revenue contribution from participants, not the city revenue contributions from the Hills and Rochester, was 1.68 million. Just in 2021, coming out of COVID, we were at 1.3. So good pickup there, despite some changes to like the dance program rolling off. But we've had a great pickup with pickleball, and our camps have been really strong. I believe we made our final payment this month. We contribute about $100,000 a year, so the $50,000, the second payment was made. The break camps continue to see a lot of success. If there's any parents listening that have kids that are off over the holidays, those school break camps and summer camps are a great option. The entryway project, which was approved earlier this year, I think the cost is around $60,000, may end up being delayed into next year. The contractor just has not gotten back together with everything. They haven't submitted the plans, I believe, so we are waiting on them, unfortunately. There's a new party space. This is pretty exciting. It's going to, it's really geared for teens. It's right before you enter the field house. The wall was pushed back into like the dance area, and there's this nice big open space. There's arcade games. There's no cost to play them as of now. You don't put coins in, they just run. So there's some really fun stuff in there for an older crowd. They're thinking of doing like teen night out, stuff like that to drive that engagement and have something for that age group to do. And there's foosball, there's ping pong, there's darts, a big screen TV, video games. So some really cool and fun stuff. We are starting our strategic planning, the master plan, which will help with any sort of grant applications. That's going on. That should be completed early next year, just in time for the Rochester Hills millage renewal, which will be next year. So I want this on everybody's radar. And I've
told them that we need to be very crisp and clear in understanding what that is going to look like and how the impact, might be for the city of Rochester. As of now, there's no ask to increase or anything like that. There's a lot of planning that's going to happen and evaluating what that looks like. But I think, us as a community should think about, what more we might want out of RARA, or is it meeting the needs of our community today? Because that will be on the table next year, and also working on the interagency agreement between the school districts and the communities that are part of RARA. The millage is 0.1948 mils for Rochester Hills. And then Rochester pays, I believe, an equivalent amount through just our normal budget, which is about $100,000 a year. So, the overall revenue for RARA, the fourth quarter budget amendment was, we approved a budget of I think it's like 2.89 million in revenue, same in roughly in expenses. And there's going to be a $80,000 draw on the fund balance, mainly because there were some large capital projects this year, the entryway, that actually could get pushed to next year. So that might end up being closer to zero. And we did pull forward a capital project of $15,000 for next year for a new portable movie screen and sound system, which would be available to use for the communities, both Rochester, Rochester Hills. HOAs could rent it, other organizations could rent it. I let Christy Trevorrow know that's going to be available. They might do something at the farmer's market that's integrated, but if not, this is great for movies in the park. And Rochester Hills plans to do some too. The fund balance, even with the little bit of amount drawn this year, is targeted to be just over $1,087,000. We have a 35% target for that fund balance, which translates to $579,000. So we have an excess of $442,000 in the fund balance. So RARA is healthy and doing very well. And you should look forward to hearing more from us next year in terms of the budget and what the Rochester Hills millage will look like.
Excellent. Great report. Lots happening there. Lots happening. I think that completes our reports. Are there any other public comments? All right. City Manager?
Do you want to do the tree report? We didn't get it on here in time, but if you would like to. That's what we prepped. We had a great meeting, actually. We prepped where we're at this year in permits, which is, I think, was 103 as of today that we've issued. One of how many we did for spring planting, fall planting, the tree bait program. You will get my full report in January, but it was just an update 3 quarters through the year where we're at. Doing great. Where, again, the purpose of the tree fund is suspended to zero if you can, and they're still unencumbered about $12,000, but believe it or not, it's hard to find places to plant that many trees. So we've had a robust program still. So appreciate the support of the tree committee. We planned Arbor Day. We'll get the resolution done. I got a month's jump on Tree City USA. I was the first one in the country to get the application. I was happy about that. I didn't know that, but because they changed the whole format, I sent out to the committee the new purpose of Arbor Day Foundation, which is global. It's large, 10 million trees we need to plant in the United States to make up for all these wildfires and the things that have happened here, and like tens more millions around the globe trying to do it. So they're working hard in Africa because that's where the biggest tree deforestation has been going on over the decades. So we talked about that. And again, we set Arbor Day for Earth Day next year. It coincides that we could do that this year, and we'll have a celebration, and we decided on doing it.
So it's April 22nd.
Thank you.
And we're going to have the first planting in our microforest.
Which is at Scott Street Park.
So we're very excited to have a microforest coming to Rochester.
Very cool. So we're excited about that.
There'll be a ribbon.
Other than that, I'm going to let council people that were at Monday's night's event sing their praises. For me, I just want to thank DPW, Christy Taylor, Jenna. What they go through in the Thunderdome for a month is amazing. Festival Trees Friday, unbelievable. Basically sold everything but 2 items, so that went really, really well. It's a great event. Then they roll right in to getting ready for Lanyap. people that were there saw it. It was insane. And Chief figured out how to get those fireworks over the street, which was great. You could see it from anywhere you were standing there. Just seeing all the smiles, police department, fire department, outside agencies, Chief George coordinated to make sure we were very safe. Didn't miss anything, and it went perfectly. So I thank you to all of them and DPW, how all those guys have to get up and get it all out there and then clean it up before everybody wakes up in the morning is amazing. So thank you, Jason, and the team there. I will tell you that after the meeting, Ms. Paula Filer was at the last meeting, kind of called us out on a little bit on Grigg Street. I met with her and another neighbor there, set our expectations. Chief John met today with the owner of that property, back on the property voluntarily, walked through it, much better shape, have a handle on it. I think people will be happy in the neighborhood, what's going on there in the long run. So I was able to check that box, and we worked it out with her. So she was appreciative that we met, and then we have an action plan moving forward. So I'll update her tomorrow, because Chief met with the gentleman today at 1:30. So that's it.
Excellent, thank you. City Clerk?
Nothing this evening, Your Honor, thank you.
Actually, can I just have, maybe if the city manager could also mention the court case with, because they came in front of us, university, that.
Right, so I think Chief told everybody, we've had to go to court, 84 times, I think, this year so far. So Attorney Crott and Chief John were in court this week to work out the details on the university, it's at University of Madison, I believe, the homes there. So if Attorney Crott would like to update you. Wilcox.
Yeah, there's 3 addresses, 1 property. And so, yes, we did, the fire department did issue a ticket a month and a half ago, and the court hearing was yesterday. The owner did show up, and there's an action plan to move forward. It was probably the longest case I had yesterday among my cases. And both Chief and Fire Marshal Shep were there as well in support, and a lot of discussion and a plan to move forward. There's a court order requiring him to do some of the things that he's supposed to do. So it's one of the issues is he doesn't live in Michigan, so there's a barrier there. But he did fly in for it. He is taking it seriously to do that. So I think we have a plan moving forward that hopefully in the next 30 days things will be markedly different.
Good, appreciate the action.
Yes.
Thank you.
And I would say we had the first meeting of the Lake Committee today. It was very robust, and it was very good.
Very exciting
So, it was great.
As exciting as cemetery
Triple C,
committee.
Yeah.
Cat Committee, Cat Committee.
So I have some homework that we'll bring back to the full council. It was a very productive meeting, and I think we got our heads in the same spot and how to move forward in a positive fashion. And Councilman Sage, when you really helped set a stage when you said we don't want to weaponize anything, and I think that got in all of our brains. Like the purpose is turn off the politeness, but be responsible and be a good neighbor. And I think we found a way to find that. And, next meeting's with Dr. Atala on his site. It's been said many times that's a target there because he's created a target there. So that's Chief John's meeting with him again, and get on a path to righting that situation also. So we appreciate the guidance and the clarity that we had when we came out of that committee today. It was great. Now I'm done. Sorry.
All right, we'll go back one more time. City Attorney?
Nothing, thank you.
Councilmember King?
I was just gonna say, I went to the Lanyap event, and for all the time that I've lived in Rochester, that was my first time. We have always been out of town this week. So I really appreciated the fire chief inviting us and a lot of the community to the fire station for the dinner. That was wonderful. It was great to see people my kids loved climbing on the fire trucks, and that was really cool. And just seeing the show, it's incredible. I'm so thankful for our DDA and everybody that contributes. The show was phenomenal. The carolers, our MC, Fox Chevrolet, everybody who contributes. Really thankful for, the work that they do and their contributions, and it was really cool. And Santa and Mrs. Claus were wonderful. The kids really enjoyed that. And the fireworks display was great. Thank you for figuring out how to get that over Main Street so, everybody could see that. So it was a really wonderful event for the community. Looking forward to it again in the future.
It's fantastic, fantastic. Mayor Pro
Yeah,
Tem?
just Lanyap, I think, was a big success in having Main Street closed, of course. So hats off to the city.
Absolutely. Councilmember Sage?
Nothing this evening other than to ask what what was the population, the crowd estimate?
So we have a formula that we can pretty much, it looks like 55,000.
55.
Wait, okay, so
In
last year.
downtown, they had 112.
40 to 45, there's a lot more than this year.
Oh,
They
I know,
came out-
I got there late.
Yeah.
So I wasn't able to get up where you all were. I thought it was only like 30-some last year.
No, it's 40 last year.
40,
Yeah.
and now,
yeah.
I guess that, but
We
the grid that we
exceeded
did,
that?
because
Yeah.
it was second to university, they were inside the buildings pretty late, till like 6:36, and then something happened, and the whole street,
Yeah.
there, you saw that. So it was, yeah, that's our guess from, we have drone shots, and then you can kind of calculate the square footage, so.
wow.
We don't want to try to exaggerate, it was just a lot of people.
Well, hopefully the state
Great.
will let us keep closing down.
Yeah,
Can you, we
that's-
talked
I
about that,
think
can
it
you
has-
imagine, I think
No.
nobody would come if you didn't close that
I
street.
don't think
because
they would.
it
It's
would
so
be-
much safer.
It's
It's
so
so
much
much
It's
safer.
just not safe. You can't, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Thank you.
So we thank the state.
Other than, don't make the mistake of trying to come into town, go to your home
No.
at 6 PM.
No.
Nope,
No.
nope.
It only took me 30 minutes to go 1 mile to my
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Councilmember Jones.
Yes, just one thing. Councilmember Trent and I went to something last week. It was civic and community engagement, and it was put on by the Michigan Nonprofit Association and the Council of Michigan Foundations. The keynote speaker talked about election results and what that means for communities. And then the breakout was fostering meaningful and authentic civic engagement within communities. And then there was a panel discussion, which was what democracy looks like when everyone participates in voting and fills out the census and details all around that. And it was a very productive day, and it was actually it got me fired up again. I talked to Nick a little bit. It was in an old school that had been renovated,
Boston
so the
edited.
whole school is all nonprofits.
And who put that on?
It was Michigan, the MNA, Michigan Nonprofit Association, and the Council of Michigan Foundations.
Oh, Council of Michigan Foundations.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was great.
Yeah,
It was a
it
day
was.
well spent.
Yeah,
Good.
Boston Edison High School.
Ah, Boston
Yeah.
Edison. Okay.
It's beautiful. It was
Yes.
going to be a tear down, and then they saved it, and it for
is
adapted use, yeah.
Inspired me to resurrect some
Yeah,
thoughts.
yeah,
Yeah.
it truly was great.
Awesome. Councilmember Trent,
Okay, couple-
holding that plaque. I'm going to get a picture of you with
I
that
got-
plaque. Got it.
I
And
got-
Steve's in the background. It's
And
perfect.
it's a real, this is a real plaque. It's not, this is bronze. I don't know, I didn't weigh it, but it's heavy. It's a great plaque. I want to thank Lynn Anderson and the Historical Commission, for giving me the other list of discount rate of $150. You could hurt somebody with this. But I'm just going to put it on my house. So I got the pleasure of going to Oakland County Parks to meet with the SISMA coordinator, Patrick Kniff, and Mary Gonzalez, who's also the sustainability officer for the parks. So they have a lot going on, and they have a small grant program, SISMA does, that will help with invasive species projects. So we can apply for that from June through, I think it's June through August, but I'll get the dates right. They have a native plant giveaway in the spring. They give away quite a few native plants. They do site visits for invasive species, and my new focus is to focus on the Dinosaur Hill Nature Preserve. I've been told that there's a lot of invasive species there, and we need to remediate it. They will also, SISMA will do tabling events. They will do prescribed burns off-site, and they have a burn boss. I would love to meet a burn boss. Maybe I could apply to be a burn boss, but anyway, they will come, and our Hallett Park needs a prescribed burn. That is a prairie restoration, and it needs a prescribed burn. So I know it's controversial, but if you have a burn boss, it doesn't seem like, it would be as, dangerous. You can do an application, and they will do a site visit to give information about that. That's SISMA. And it sounded like they would do it for free. I don't know. I mean, burning, I don't know. So anyway, they have also, number 6 was wildlife staff. They help with wildlife. They have a wildlife staff. They help with water, forestry, and natural areas. They also have, we discussed having workshops with HOAs, so I had my fellow colleagues, Nancy Oldie, Valerie Mullaney from West Bloomfield Township, because they are working on a campaign initiative to do presentations to HOAs on multiple fronts and to help them manage their common areas better and mitigate flooding and planting native plants and prairie restorations in those areas for less mowing. That's it.
That's all from SISMA?
Well, that was a 2-hour meeting. I tried to boil it down to 5 minutes.
Thank you.
I asked them, what do you want me to say? And of course, the parks got the millage passed, so they were working on that. So I wanted to be right up front to say, hey, we are here and we want to partner with you.
Absolutely. Bring the money here. Bring the resources here. Councilmember Hauser?
Sure, just a few things. I want to echo what comments about logging up last night, and I want to thank, in particular, Chief Cieslak for opening the fire station to all of us and our families, and the police chief, and Jason, and the DPW guys. It really was a successful evening because of the work that they do in advance and then after everyone goes home. And those are the kinds of things that, sometimes people think just magically happen, and it really, truly only happens that way because people like Jason and the fire chiefs and city staff put the work in and plan accordingly. So thank you very much for doing that, everyone. Second, as Nick discussed, we had our first Blight Committee meeting this morning, and councilpersons Jones and Trent were with me, and Nick and Jeremy, and both the police chief and the fire chief. And I thought it was a very, very productive conversation that we had. It was engaging from the sense that we were able to really get everything out on the table and talk about the issues that I think are at hand. And candidly, I was surprised, not in a horrific way, but that there are so many cases of blight. I think they had talked about 84 cases that you have gone to court for over the past year. And those are, numbers that are kind of like, wow, it clearly demonstrates that something has to be done. And I think we laid the groundwork today to get us there. 1 year on city council, I'm learning things take a little bit of time, and things don't necessarily happen overnight. So I appreciate all the work that everyone has done to get us to that point. And to people watching at home, there's still some progress to go, but I can assure everyone that we are certainly doing what we need to do to make sure that this is addressed responsibly and timely. And then third, I want to just take a moment to address the change in leadership here. And Mr. Bixson and Mayor Pro Tem, I want to thank you for all the work that you've done on city council, both as a member and as mayor for the past several years. You are a true public servant, and I think people don't realize that aside from being up here for the hour and a half or 2 hours that we are every other Monday, there are committees, there's meetings, there's emails that we get from constituents and residents, and it takes an enormous amount of time and patience, and you have done it for many, many years very well. And I appreciate all the things that you've done for the city and that you've done for me personally. Okay, so I sincerely appreciate the fact that you are still on council, you're in a position of leadership as Mayor Pro Tem, and Mrs. Mayor, I'm sorry, Madam Mayor, I couldn't be happier for you. And I'm really proud to be on here with all of you, and I think this is going to be a fantastic year, and I'm excited, and I think all of us are going to get behind you and support you very well, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. We do have a great council, and I could echo for hours all of the amazing things that are happening in our city, especially as we enter this Christmas season. It's the blur of activity, Festival of Trees and Lanyap, and upcoming this weekend is the, don't forget, Plaid Saturday, small business. So shop Friday, Saturday, shop local. And for council, remember December is the month where we have a council meeting on the 9th and the 16th, since the 4th would be December 23rd. So we will not have a meeting then. So it's the 9th and the 16th. And in our tradition, I would like to host council after the meeting on the 16th for a little holiday cheer at one of our local places. So city attorney, however, we need to public notice that. Maybe I just did it.
Did you invite the public
gathering?
as well?
Social gathering.
Councilmember Jones just informed me she won't be able to attend,
On the 16th?
she'll be in Barbados. So she has graciously offered to buy that first round.
Okay. Councilmember Jones, we'll take you up on your offer.
did he make that
Unless, well, we can't move it to the 9th. The 9th will be too much. So it'll stay on the 16th.
That's fine.
With that, I will close the meeting. But I will say, God bless Rochester, and please send Hallmark to film a movie in Rochester. Yeah.
Weren't we close to that one time?
Did I get your